Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight for this special screening of LARA and the Beat. This is a new film that is currently available on Netflix, and we'll follow the screening of the film with a live Q&A with director-producer Temi Coker and co-producer and SCA Alumna Temi Coker. The film runs about 140 minutes, and I'm going to run it directly through the webinar. And then we'll go directly into the Q&A. So I hope that you enjoy the film, and I'll see you in about 2 hours and 20 minutes. See you in a bit. Okay, thank you all so much for joining us for the Q&A. Let's welcome up the director-producer, Tosin Coker, and the producer, first AD, Temi Coker.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you for having us, and thank you for the great honor of playing our movie.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. The movie was so much fun. I'm really glad that we had a chance to bring it to our audience before the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity for us to showcase our film with you before the end of the year, especially given the kind of year we've had so far. So it's really awesome, this opportunity.
Before we get started with the Q&A, I just wanted to mention to everyone that's watching, if you want to ask a question, just type it up in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom panel, and then instead of me reading it, I'll actually invite you over to ask it live. I'm curious, you guys are both Nigerian American, and you've gone to film schools out in California, and you've been making acclaimed films out here. What was the allure to take all of that to Nollywood?
I guess initially, just graduating, we really honestly didn't consider going back to Africa. The opportunity came when I was invited to the Durban film market to pitch a movie out there. And when I got there, you get to spend time with different directors from different filmmakers from all parts of the continent. And I realized that, wow, cinema culture was really big in Africa too. So just by virtue of networking, I got a friend to invite me to Nigeria to shoot a television series. And off television series to success, we got the opportunity to make our first feature, out there. And just the experience itself just was to us to actually explore more, making films in Africa.
We've done a Nigerian film festival for a few years, but we don't often have the crossover filmmakers that have worked in both industries. I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about some of the biggest differences about working in Nollywood.
Well, as he mentioned, like he had the privilege of he had a TV show out there, but when the LARA and the Beat was like my first experience into Nollywood production. And one thing for sure, because being able to see it on ground level as a producer and a first AD, you realize that some of the things that you're used to, the things that you're so privileged to, find the resources out here, you might not have that out there. So you find yourself thinking quick on your feet about thinking about alternative ways to be able to achieve, the same results. So that was something that was quite different.
Yeah, we always had to be in contingency mode at all times because a lot of things didn't function as they would in the States. So we had to think ahead of, or go ahead of time to actually say, okay, what if this doesn't work out? And given the fact that we didn't really have a lot of pre-production time, it really, we just had to just tap into guerrilla filmmaking, based on that. So I think that it brought out the best in us, so to speak. But yeah, it's very different. Things are so structured over there, but in developing industry, there's just a lot of things that have to be put in place for it to function better.
Yeah, I find it incredibly impressive how Nollywood functions sort of without a centralized studio system, so every film is basically independent. But the past several years, you know, the output is incredibly lavish. It's beautifully shot. I mean, it's just like massive productions, and then you talk to the filmmakers and they tell you these stories of it being guerrilla filmmaking, which it's just, you don't see that on the screen. You know, you see something very polished and beautiful. So tell us a little bit, I guess, about knowing the kind of limitations you might be going into, the sort of deciding on the story, what you were or were not going to be able to do with the resources that you had.
Yeah, I think coming over there, we had certain expectations. I mean, we had lofty expectations also, you know, because we pre-planned everything, even to the shots and everything, because we expected things to function a certain way. But the issue with us was that once we got there, instead of us going to pre-production, they wanted to do a rewrite on the script. So we had to shut down and just do that. So we literally, from writing the script, the next day we were on set. So what happened is that you have to think about, what do I want to get across? What's the story about? Like, what's the scene about? And how can I do it in like 8 hours? Because you only have 8 hours of pre-production time, or like, you know, or 24 hours production time to coordinate what you wanted to do. So I think that we chose to have more of a visceral experience with the camera. We wanted it to be a live cam because we couldn't keep staging, and we didn't have the luxury to stage and to do coverage because we had a lot of crunch time. We didn't have a lot of time, so we had to do a live cam, rehearse it, see the scene, put the camera there, plan our shots right there and then, and just say, okay, let's go for it, just based on rehearsal. So we try to do a lot of one-ers and then keep it an immersive experience, just to save on time, because we just didn't have any, you know.
What would you say are the biggest changes that they wanted for the script?
Well, there was never like it was not necessarily just a change. It was they were trying to go for a complete overhaul. Oh wow! So yeah, so it was like almost like everything we had planned we couldn't do. So it was almost like, wow, we threw it out of the, you know. And then we had to figure out how to merge the story we had and also incorporate a love story, which was Lara's story, because initially we didn't have a love story. You know, it was a coming of age of two sisters. So with that, we spent about a month just molding that and trying to just figure out, okay, how does this work? And just like everybody was just writing in manic mode. Yeah, but once we got off that, it was like, okay, well, we got the money now. We don't have a lot of time. We can't do pre-production. Go. And then we'll figure out locations as we're shooting, and like we'll figure out what we're doing maybe a few hours before we shoot. So we'll figure, you know, and that's what it was, just trying to just play catch up all through. Yeah, that's really well. So yeah, I mean, we had incredibly talented filmmakers on board, and everybody was just able to think on their feet and be
dig deep. Really.
Yeah, just more like just working on instincts. Like, okay, how do we shoot it? What do we stage? Blah blah. And we're just like making it right there.
And just have like 5-minute like powwows. Just
yeah, it's like scene exercises in school. Like that's what it was, scene by scene. We're working that way.
You know, just because this was the last scene of the film, I have to ask, as filmmakers, what would you think if your sibling came and started performing in front of your silent film?
I mean,
at that point, right?
Well, yeah.
At that point, like, you know, I think like she was having like a horrible showing anyway, so it would have been like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for saving me. But yeah, like it would have been like a test to my ego, but you know, it would have been awesome. Like I would have been like very, you know, excited. I would have been thankful.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Not like she'll kill me right after, but yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Tell us about the soundtrack. There's so many great songs in here. What was the process of, I guess, did you have one person sort of centrally you're composing stuff, or were you working with different artists?
Yeah, I think we can split that into two. First off, on the scoring side, I want to give a shout out to USC alumni, Benjamin Young did an amazing job on that scoring of the film. But for the original soundtrack, given we wanted to make a musical movie, we had to contact one of the top producers in the country to help us create a sound. for the film. So the person had to understand the story, the vision, and also see the fact that there's an opportunity for us to export African music, Afro beats out there. So we wanted to do something that could incorporate that. And by us targeting a very acclaimed producer to put a list of music together for us to listen to approve, to fix, tweak, I think we came up with a soundtrack that, you know, is eclectic in its in genre wise, but also it was able to translate to the West based on some real interesting fusion of music, hip hop music in the US.
Well, you made the choice to have the music fit in realistically into the movie, as opposed to sort of that being like that fantasy element that you know, that most musicals have. Tell us a little bit about that choice.
Well, we wanted it to be more of an organic approach anyway. I even though, yes, we did some things artistically with the camera, we wanted a very natural film. We enjoy the fact that diegetic sound, which is sound incorporated into the scene, works better for a character that's really trying to sing. You know, we want to see the struggle of this person that, okay, she doesn't know her sound, and then she eventually finds her sound. We want to see the struggle in her voice. So I think us not taking away from the fantasy or not taking away from anything from La La Land, but, you know, we wanted to just ground in that reality. And being that the fact that we got to cast 2 real musicians for our leads, they had no choice but to sing, you know, really for the film.
So I have to ask, what was the inspiration for Big Chi?
Big Chi was a creation of the other writer. And it was the funny thing was that he was supposed to be a bigger guy. I think his name was supposed to represent what he physically looked like. Yeah. But our executive producer had this brilliant idea, like, why don't we cast the opposite for it? And I think we thought for a second, like, wow, that'd be really amazing, actually be really funny. And when we did it and he got to set and it just worked, because even though he's so tiny, he's so larger than life as a personality that, you know, it was like, this is just perfect. You know, the cast gets tight, and we try to incorporate that into the shooting style also, you know, always flowing right below him, you know, in the live cam mode, so that it seems like bigger than life. And I think, you know, the inspiration came directly from our executive producer.
I love that he's always eating.
Chicken, you know, yeah. It's like Big Chi.
Big Chi loves chicken, and this is something that organically works together. It's almost like you get to the set and it's written in the script, but once you hold that prop, it just becomes something to work with. And the actor is so talented. Chinedu is so talented. He used that as a driving force for his character in every scene you saw him.
So in the Nollywood films that I've watched over the past few years, I've noticed a sort of a theme, maybe it's like a streak of feminism, but a lot of women as heads of businesses taking over the family business. And it's just wonderful to see. I'm curious to know how you landed on telling a story about 2 women, siblings, you know, having to take over.
Yeah, so the honest the truth about it is that in Nollywood already, I mean, or in Africa, you see a lot of this happening, you know. Women are now stepping forward out of the shadows. Gone are the days where it's like a woman's supposed to be subservient, be, you know, seen but not heard. Women are now taking charge, and I think it's like being held back for so long. It just seems like there's just so much to actually prove, and they go out there and they do their thing. In fact, the industry in Nollywood is mostly run by women, you know, right now. For this particular story is actually personal to my executive producer, who happens to be, she used to run the equivalent of, I'll say, Comcast on the continent of Africa. So she came from that reality where she had to step up, because I think she was the oldest in the family, and her parents were, you know, they encouraged it. So she tried to make a story that reflected her life with this one.
So Temi, I wanted to ask, just because you're an alumna, is there anything that you took from your time at SC into producing?
Oh yes, you know, because I was, like, as I said, on set producing and, you know, assistant directing, and so I had to use, like, all the knowledge that I got like at SC. And like, you know, some of the things that I would just remember some of my instructors telling me, like, you know, how to work outside in terms of like locations. And it's like, because the locations would kind of like drop out. So it was like little things like that. And really being able to think on my feet and reorganize and think about backups and just think ahead. You know, a lot of that came into, you know, good use.
Well, with such a, I guess the need to shoot quickly, I'm curious if that made the crowd scenes harder or some of the more intimate performance scenes harder to shoot.
I think, yeah, I mean, the pressure was pretty much on everybody, especially, yeah, in the bigger scenes. We had to, like, you know, split up, like go cover. And while you're covering, we're shooting another scene, because we're shooting, we might be shooting like 8 different scenes in a day or 9 different scenes in a day. So we had to be creative in the way we distributed that. And then for the smaller scenes, yeah, the pressure does come in. We don't have a lot of time, and that we have to now try and like get our performance, our actors to perform better or under that much pressure. So I think all through the film was just a pressure type cooker for us, because it's just so much to do in so little time, and things falling out and things, you know, locations falling out, trying to find contingencies. You just have to be in this manic mode where you're not really, you don't even know, you're just shooting and making stuff happen and just relying on instinct.
And just
so,
rearranging.
you know, until we came to the States for post, we didn't know what did we get it? You know, so that's what it was.
Well, feel free to not share, but what was the most challenging day on set?
I think Temi might have better understanding of that.
Wow. Okay, it was actually a day in the house. It was the minimum day.
Okay,
because you know there was traffic. Or was it the boat scene? I think the boat scene was the most challenging day, because we had our truck. Our truck was on a bridge and there was traffic, and it took the truck about over like 6 hours just to get to us. We could see our truck.
We just couldn't get the equipment.
We couldn't get our equipment.
We're held back, and we had to shoot the whole scene, I think, in an hour, if I'm right.
Yeah.
The boat scene.
The boat scenes.
Everything.
Wow.
Like during magic hour, so it's like literally you're seeing it in real time.
Yeah, like we're just and like cut. Okay,
yeah,
and that's what it was. So we had an hour to take all that, and also the drone shots.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I did want to ask you about having it now available on Netflix, and Netflix has become very much a supporter of distribution for Nollywood, and I'd love to know a little bit about the various stages of, you know, like getting in touch with them, you know, the markets that they're serving with it, and how they're getting the word out.
Well, yeah, I think yes, they are coming to Africa. The whole process of getting in touch with them was through my executive producer, and she had a contact already at Netflix. And while we toured with it and we found offers from different people, she had a Netflix person in the back of her hand. So when we had all these other offers for the film, we asked ourselves, what was the biggest platform? And we went for Netflix, because we wanted to go to a global audience, and they wanted to get the whole world acquisition. So that's what we focused on. In terms of the workflow behind it, once we got that deal, we had to now make the deliverables based on Netflix standard, and that itself is like a lot of work, you know. So we had to do sound and everything to their standard, and then it was a process of, like, you know, creating collateral, like, oh, okay, like, do you approve of this logo or this and that, you know, or do you did this poster and all that stuff. So we did all that. And then after that, it's just more or less like, well, marketing. And then they have the Netflix Niger arm doing some marketing for the film too. So they really put a lot of power behind the social media campaign before the release of the film. That's because Netflix is really now focused on promoting Africa content, and you have a lot of the diaspora audience in the United States, in the UK, and in France, and in a lot of Europe too. And I even got a call from China. Their diaspora, African diaspora there. So people are able to consume this product outside of Nigeria. And also I know we're penetrating the Caribbean market. And I think we're also penetrating the African American market too. So I think there's not appreciation for cinema and African content. And I always say this, like, I'm grateful for what Ryan Coogler was able to achieve by bringing Hollywood out there, say, hey, we do have cinema in Africa. And ever since then, it's been like, okay, Hollywood's like, there's an opportunity here. Let's try and make something happen.
Do you think Netflix is also trying to branch into non-diaspora in terms of its marketing? Because Nollywood films have become so polished that the production values are fantastic. The stories are very entertaining. But it's also still like it's a foreign film, regardless of whether it's in English. And I'm curious how they're approaching that.
I think it's more or less like they're looking at. I think they're going to be looking at incorporating more Africans in American cinema, telling the story from this side of the world, telling the diaspora story, because now you can integrate easily with people, like they're showcasing everyday Americans, which is not just Africans. We have different cultures and different tribes. Putting a fusion of that and shooting locally in the United States will open the market up to a whole lot more people. And when they do that in the US and the UK, it becomes this one world concept of cinema. So I think they're very strategic in that release. And I think that that's probably the smarter way to go if they're going to go about it, to get more people to consume, at least appreciate the stories, but from this side of the world.
So do you think your next project will also be in Lagos?
Well, there are a few things I'm considering, but I have projects in the US here that I'm also looking at. So I do have projects pending for Lagos. I think it just has to be the right time. And with COVID had slowed down the year for us in terms of like development of our other projects, but we are hoping 2021 we can get back into things and pull some things out. But yeah, just stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah. You both wear so many hats in this production, and I'm curious to know a little bit about just working together. What's the what's the best advice for sharing all of those roles together on set and managing to sort of keep?
Well, I think the thing about Tosin and I working together is like we trust each other. Like I think about it sometimes. I feel like I've been on set as his AD at every monumental.
Oh, your audio just cut out.
Monumental state people,
Hello, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. No, I was saying we work together, and it's like over the years, we've just been able to have like a shorthand, trusting each other. And I don't know. I think it's just like, we do have, it's like, I feel like I can kind of guess things that he would like on set, and also help usher in moments that, or at least push away things that could add tension on set. So there are multiple reasons why it's like, it makes it easy for us to work together,
Yeah, I think trust comes into play, and also the fact that we are able to challenge each other. We grew up together, so we both love this film thing. So it's able to say, okay, so that's not working, and give a suggestion, and do vice versa, or I look at a scene like, do you think I got it, Temi? And she's able to tell me honestly, like, dude, even though she's the AD, like, dude,
yeah,
because she understands what's at stake. And I think that if anybody out there, if you do have a sibling you're working with, I think it's just establishing that trust, look at each other and say, hey, let's promise to challenge each other and bring the best out of each other,
That's very true. That's true, because there would be moments on set and we would just he would say something about a scene and I'll be like, I think you could do better, I think the great part is that we're both filmmakers. So it's like, and we both have our own individual eye. So it's like, and I appreciate that, like, even as, creatives, we can actually trust each other's advice. And so, like, that was something, I think that's something that's been great throughout our career and our relationship together as siblings.
Okay, so if anyone wants to ask a question, please feel free to drop it into the Q&A box. And I'm going to start by inviting over Raj, and I will move you over as a panelist now.
Hello, thank you for sharing, Ago.
Hi, Raj. How you doing?
Hi, welcome to America. Here, your film Nigerian Nollywood is impacting quite a bit, as Ago said, even after so many, not having a full infrastructure, but producing a lot of lovely films. Yeah. I had a question. Enjoy the film. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
I had a question. Is that person, the actor, is a banky who is helping to recover the music? Nigerian actor?
The Banky?
Yeah.
His name is Diahnna, but we do know of Banky. I met him last year when we're in Paris together. He's a really talented actor. And yeah, hopefully one day we get to work on something together.
Is the whole your film is being shot in Nigeria?
Yes, the whole film was shot in Nigeria on location. We just try to showcase the different sides in Nigeria than a lot of people tend to show. And we wanted to bring out the beauty of, Nigeria, but also even when things are not the best locations, there's still beauty in that, in the lower side of the social and economic spectrum.
Also, your next kind of short film is coming. Can you tell us about that future, the short film, the one coming about alcoholism and related to
Finding Neptune. Yes. So Finding Neptune, we're working on it. Right now we're still in development because we had to do some more work on the script. It's pretty much it's a story about a relationship between a dysfunctional relationship between an alcoholic and a guy that's recovering from sex addiction. So this particular film is something that we just wanted to stay true to. So there's a lot of research going into addiction in general and how it can actually tear a relationship apart when you hide secrets of your addiction from each other.
Yeah, it will be an interesting subject. Definitely, I'd love to see such film. And thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Nigerian, I think we have come across after USC hosted a couple of film festivals and all, a lot of nice high profile, all the director like you and other people's came on. Thank you for sharing and welcome, Trojan. Thank you.
Thank
Raj,
you.
we had Banky at the festival last year.
Yes, we had it, and so did.
And actually, another one of our guests is in your movie, Wale Ojo.
Yeah.
Yes. Wale is a really talented guy.
Yeah.
And so do the Dakor and Kunle and all those filmmakers and actors and all. They were at USC.
Yeah, they're really great people. I've had an opportunity to meet some of them.
And now they are making an impact on the Hollywood here, some of those. Yeah. Thank you for sharing and enjoy the film and good luck to in your future and love to see your short film.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ago.
See ya. Does anyone else want to ask a question? All right, well, I don't want to keep you too late in Texas time. Yeah, you should definitely come back to campus next, when all of this is over.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, and good luck with your next projects.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See the next one. And have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Good night.